Oh, oh, the pollen. I don't know about you where you live, but here in the southeastern United States, we've had some serious pollen this week. Well, we've got some nice storm clouds coming in to hopefully wash some of the yellow nastiness away. Ugh, it's been a mess. My allergies don't usually bother me, but I'm sneezing and coughing all the time. So anyway, this week's lesson is going to be in drop D. I'm going to be, got my drop D guitar here with me. Going to be addressing a couple of things this week, kind of two birds with one stone, as it were. I got an email asking about drop D, kind of a beginner's email, so we can tackle that really quickly at the beginning of the video. And I also got a question about modes. And so since, I figured drop D, let's do a Dorian mode. Let's play in D Dorian, just to kind of get some things started there. So without much more ado than is necessary, drop D is simply taking your sixth string, which is normally E, and dropping it down a whole step until it's a low D. You can simply do this with a tuner, or you can just match it. If you want to do it by ear, you can just match your fourth string, which is a D. You're just going to be an octave lower than that D. If you have a guitar like this with a Floyd Rose style bridge, mine is a zero resistance, and the other one is an Edge Pro. Those can be a little pickier sometimes. This one, whenever I tune it down to drop D, I actually didn't have it set up for drop D, but when I go to drop D with it, it knocks everything out of tune, and I have to go tune everything, but it holds it very well. So I've been happy with that. My other guitar, no, it really doesn't like drop D at all. I'd have to get it, specifically set up for that. So there are some problems you can encounter going drop D. Drop D is very much a power chord, at least with an electric guitar, very much a power chord driven tuning. What I mean by that is you're just going to be playing a lot of power chords. Instead of G being, a power chord like this where you have, G and D and another G, that G is no longer right here. Since you've tuned down a whole step, you have to bring this up a whole step to the 5th fret. Now you've got your G. And you can just bar across those three strings right there. You can add a pinky right here for another 5th, or you can add it on the 4th string for a 2. So for some interesting sounds there. So that's drop D. All right, now moving on, the next thing is I got an email asking about the modes and what are they, and well, there's not really a quick answer to that. We can go ahead and start looking at modes this week. I don't know if I'm going to do next week the next mode, and I don't know, I might decide to do a whole series on modes, but not making any promises there. I'd love to do that, so hey, maybe it'll work out that way. The first mode that we're actually going to go ahead and look at is going to be Dorian. It's the second mode of the major scale. The first mode of the major scale is Ionian, which is just a fancy word for major. We've already done so much stuff in major, and by this point in the lessons, you really need to know your major scale anyway. With all the stuff that we do, you really need a solid understanding of major scale. And like I said, we've already done a lot on the major scale, so if you need to, go back and check out some of the lessons in the archives that we've done with major scales, and that'll help you. Dorian is the second mode of the major scale, meaning it comes from the second degree of the major scale. For example, if we're in C major, the second mode is going to be D Dorian. Dorian is the second, D is the second interval out of the C major scale, so therefore D Dorian. Simply, it's playing a C major scale, starting with D and finishing with D. It's all natural notes, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's your D Dorian scale. So that's it in a nutshell. Let's take a deeper look into it and see what that might mean for your playing. All right, now the other way to think about the Dorian mode is just think of it as a minor scale with a natural sixth. Instead of 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, you just raise that sixth. And there you have it. It's minor because the second chord of any major scale, the 2 chord, is always going to be minor. So therefore your second mode, it's going to be of minor tonality. We'll get into why that is in maybe another lesson. Maybe after I get a few more emails. How about that? But that's just kind of the easy way to think about Dorian, is a minor scale with a major sixth. If you want to take a look at a great example of an artist using Dorian, just look up some Carlos Santana and try to learn some Santana stuff. He's the master of Dorian. So go learn some Santana. How's that for a lesson there? All right. All right. Well, the next question that's going to come up is, okay, when do I use Dorian? We're going to, hold that thought, bracket that off. We'll come back to that. I'll probably do, I'll do a lesson at some point that's going to be about how to harmonize a scale. What does that mean? I'll go ahead and give you a couple of examples of when you could use Dorian. For example, if you're playing in any major key, let's take G major, for example, and you run across the 2 chord. Well, the 2 chord is going to be minor, so in G major, that's going to be an A minor 7. If you run across that, you can play an A Dorian over that. That's acceptable. Also, if you're playing in C and you come across a D minor 7, you can play D Dorian over that. Just the easier way to think about it, Dorian is the same thing as, it's really the same thing as a major. You just moved the root note. D Dorian has the exact same notes as C major. You're just starting with a D. A Dorian is the same thing as a G major. You're just starting with an A. That makes sense? So let's take a look at a quick little riff about how to use that and just really what it sounds like. All right, so the first half is going to go like this. I'm going to pick D, and then we're going to sweep from D to A to D to E. And it's a little triplet sweep. Just all you're doing is one down pick. See if I can get into in the view with the pick there. Then we're going to go to F, skip up to C on the first string. Then we're going to go to A, hammer onto B, a half bend from B up to C and then back down, pull off to A, and then finish with G. The next part is just a series of a lot of fast hammer-ons and pull-offs. And I'm also incorporating some hybrid picking in there. You can if you want to. I like to just for efficiency. All I'm doing there is just doing a quick little... And here's where I'm doing the hybrid pick. Right there. Another hybrid pick right there, and that's again the Dorian note B. Oops. And then another hybrid pick right there on the D. And hit that low F. So here it is one more time. All right, so there's some drop D for you, and there's a little bit of Dorian. We had talked about a couple of ways you can use Dorian. One of the other ways is if you're playing Dorian, if you're playing a minor key. If you're playing in a minor key, for example, we're playing in D minor. Our 4 chord, D, E, F, G, 4 is always minor in a typical minor progression. If that 4 chord becomes a major or a dominant chord, then that's going to warrant Dorian. Again, we'll get into more of that, why that is when we actually do like a full mode study. But that's just a couple of ideas that you can use. That's a cool little riff for you to see kind of what it sounds like. Again, remember hitting that B. Those are our major 6 notes over our minor progression, or rather our minor scale there. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit them into the request tab on andrewsmusiccorner.com, for questions relating to this or really anything else. You can also find the tabs. It's going to be under the Lesson of the Week tab. It's going to be directly under this video. You can go download that to PDF, and you can use that if you need a tablature for it. Feel free to manipulate it in any way you want to. Make the riff your own. Better yet, try to make up some of your own. I'll see you next week.